These ladies have escaped to the Highlands for a holiday. Fantastic. The clear air of Scotland will do wonders for their health. Mar Lodge is an exquisite place for the ladies.
The vast grounds of ancient Caledonian pine provide ample opportunities for strolling, where they might talk of things women talk about. The drawing room is filled to the ceiling with books for their quiet occupations. They might perhaps enjoy some gentle billiards or even croquet on a fine day. The trouble with women is that on account of their frail and diminutive figures and the charming gentleness of their demeanour, they should not roam the mountains, nor partake in any of the other activities that gentlemen do.
No. I think you'll find that the real trouble with women is that we have to wear skirts. We are constantly forced to choose between being able to move our limbs freely or being excluded from polite society for wearing trousers, or bloomers as they were known. And so we've had to take matters into our own hands.
The invention consists of an improved cycling skirt which is made suitable for use by lady cyclists. By drawing two cords which run down each side of the skirt and tying them round the waist, the skirt falls into prettily arranged folds and lifts the dress to show a few inches of the bloomers.
Many ladies, while occupied in mountaineering, tobogganing and cycle sport, desire to appear in skirts. We have therefore contemplated to construct a combination dress for ladies, a jacket, an overall, a well-fitting sporting dress and a small cape. In this manner, not only space, but also money may be saved.
The object of the invention is to construct a garment to be used as a skirt or as a cloak, for use by women in tramping, hunting and in outdoor recreation.
The invention for convertible skirt and breeches relates to garments worn by women or girls and can be interchangeable for use as either a skirt of walking length or as bloomers or breeches.
The invention is particularly well adapted for women flyers in that it provides a garment which permits free action of the wearer's limbs in getting in and out of an airplane. It is also good for streetwear, camping, hunting, horse riding, fishing, and other outdoor sports.
These inventions are very clever, but the weaker sex must remember that they are not accustomed, nor designed for such prolonged exercise in the open air. Too much exercise, especially unsupervised, can threaten a girl's future health and fertility. The free, out-of-door life, so priceless when properly conducted, may prove to be the path to pain and weakness, if not to permanent invalidism. The frantic pursuit of mere outdoor personal amusement must be abandoned. Woman needs no biceps. All violent exercises are to be avoided for the sake of aesthetics, as well as on account of the frailty of her body. Everything that makes her mannish, anything that approaches an exhibition of prowess, is of evil in woman. Worse still, it is ridiculous. The women go cycling. Cycling is a very appropriate activity for women when conducted properly. Every woman who rides a wheel should understand that she can do so in moderation only. And if she attempts more, she will pay for it dearly. The women visit Braemar Highland Games. How lovely. There seems no doubt that the rush of the women into athletics has been unfavourable and detrimental. For a woman to be masculine in body or mind is a sure sign of deteriorated physique and mentality. Home functions and duties are repugnant to them. Such unexciting tasks as the mending of clothes, the making of beds, the arrangement of flowers, and so forth, are insufferable to them. The trouble is largely due to the fact that whilst girls have less resistance than boys, they frequently have more determination and are apt to overdo the thing. The women go hunting. Oh good lord.
Oh, the river Rhine sings by the linden tree. Its melody is calling me. There's a sweetheart yearning for me day by day. So far away, in dreams we stray. I long to hear the church bells sweetly chime. Our love will rhyme. There'll come a time. Bright moonbeams twinkle on the rippling Rhine River, and my sweetheart waiting by the vine. Love dreams remind me I left my heart.
The women climb a mountain. Women must remember that they belong to a sex which, for centuries, has not been accustomed to prolonged exercise in the open air, and therefore...
Women, like men, should try to do the impossible. And when they fail, their failure should be a challenge to others.
Two things combined to hinder the growth of mountain climbing among women. One was the belief that it was not a womanly occupation, a belief which was expressed well past the turn of the 20th century. The second was the problem of clothes.
But we still went climbing, abandoning our skirts on hillsides to make our ascent, or even climbing in them regardless.
I owe a supreme debt of gratitude to the mountains for knocking from me the shackles of conventionality, but I had to struggle hard for my freedom.
And so if I have in any way assisted my sisters in their wanderings, or encouraged a single woman to join the path of travellers by land or sea, I shall feel that I have achieved the object of my labours, and that my task has indeed not been in vain.
Alice is doesn't have to reinforce her room with varnish.
Yeah.
As a frisbee.
Okay.
It's
Do you want
true.
to know what's happening at the back?
Yeah.
So.
Do I get to pull the tassels?
Yes, you do. But do you want to see? Two of them are secured here, right? And this one is secured down here, right? So the centre back one is secured down here.
Okay. Oh.
And these two are secured
Yeah.
at the top.
Okay.
So these two are one technology.
Yeah.
And that one's a different technology.
Okay. What can I
These
use
two are for
first?
riding a women's bike, and this one is for riding a man's bike.
No
So
way.
this is for getting the up the side.
There are so many hidden histories of women. When you think about the narrative around sport, who do we see as those heroes? They're all male, but actually there must have been so many females out there doing lots of sports, challenging themselves, but we didn't actually know because it's never been written down. You know, so unless we really dig deep and find out the facts, this is what we're learning, that actually women were active then. And if I'd known that as a youngster, and knowing that actually that's just part of our DNA to be out there enjoying sport, enjoying the outdoors, our life would be very different today if we heard that narrative.
POP is a research project exploring the history of inventive and convertible women's activewear in the archives, and we're really excited to be working with the Adventure Syndicate and making a film about it. The collection of costumes is made up of 5 different pieces, and they're all from different eras. So the 1890s, 1900s, 1910, 1920 and 1930. And so they're all incredibly different, but they also share lots of similarities. So they're for cycling, they're for walking, they're for hiking, some of them are for swimming. The inventors talk about tobogganing and skating. They talk about flying and camping and hunting and fishing and all sorts of things. That's really diverse what they're catering for. But what they're all about is enabling women to have freedom of movement and also to deal with the restrictions to the freedom of movement that came from challenging social norms.
Hey ladies, you the queen, 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 and you got that thing. Show them how it's gonna be. Hey ladies, you the queen, 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 and you got that thing. Show them how it's gonna be. And you got that thing.
One thing that this project has made me realise is that women were always active. And there's a perception that women weren't active in days when they didn't have the clothing to participate. But actually, they must have done so many different things to enable them to get out, whether that's sneaking away from their everyday activities to go and do things. And maybe it might have been a bit uncomfortable with the clothing that they had, you know, before these inventions. But I'm sure they were all still out there doing it in their own way, challenging the system, because they were the sisters that actually supported those that created these inventions, because they knew that something was wrong, that actually, we belong in this space too.
So we've got one bright colour for each of the eras, and we deliberately chose that when we were putting this together because we wanted to really highlight the inventions that are in each of the garments. So we have really focused on what the inventor has told us about the unique kind of practicality or the functionality or the novelty that's embedded within the garment, and we've highlighted that with one of these really bright colours. So you can really tell the story about this. And we really wanted to render it visible because so many of these things are either deliberately hidden from view, because that was the kind of aim of the inventor, that nobody would know kind of what was happening or the secrets embedded in these garments, or they've actually been hidden from history because these inventions have either been forgotten or they've been systematically erased from the stories that we tell about these inventive and active women from the past.
This could be your moment.
He hasn't either.
Ready?
Oh, God.
So you think back and all this narrative that was created that was just false. It was lies to stop women from being active. And this is what I love about my outfit particularly, is that invention of being able to move from being in a skirt and being civil in everyday life to actually changing it into a pair of trousers and getting out to do all the things that you love about sport and cycling and walking and hiking and climbing. You know, it's incredible that they did this, and I can't thank those women enough for what they must have put themselves through to get us to where we are today.
We were doing lots of the research. We were getting really excited by just all of the explanations and the pictures provided by all the inventors in their inventions, in the patent documents. And then we translate them, we reconstruct them into these three-dimensional artifacts, and these arguments we call them. So suddenly we have garments, and then we actually put them onto people who have then taken them up mountains, they've jumped into rivers, they've played with them in fields and parks, they've ridden along mountain bike trails, and they've really had a lot of fun with them, but also just explored them to see what they're like, to see if they can get at what these inventors were imagining and trying to do with their clothes to enable them to have the lives that they wanted to live.
The common theme is we all have to wear skirts, but only 2 of us actually remove our skirts and do something else with them. But I'm actually the only one who can then use it for something else, which is a cloak.
Are you still going? Wow. Even Corey's chuckling.
You need to stand up and shake, Phil.
and added warmth and protection and a towel and a windbreaker, and so it's actually a very useful other item, whereas a skirt is essentially a useless item. It has no use in my mind, apart from making you look feminine.
And these inventions were designed to work in so many different places. They were designed to work while doing sport and activities, but they're also designed to actually work in social situations. So to actually see these in action and the ways in which we might have been climbing, you know, up a mountain for, you know, for about 5 hours in kind of quite challenging conditions. You know, we had hail, we had rain, we had a lot of icy wind. And then at the end of the day, we went into a pub and we got told, well, after we transformed the garments back into their kind of social forms, with all the skirts down and things tucked in again and buttoned up or zipped up, it was amazing to have people in the pub notice us and tell us how nice we looked. So it was like these things actually did work.
Yeah, well, think about the gender stereotypes of women, in particular in that era, and you know, some of that still exists today. Yeah. The stereotypes that women shouldn't take risks, they shouldn't do things that you know, that might put them in difficulty.
Yeah. Ready.
Quick, fast. Where am I going?
Yeah. To the drive. Come back to the left.
Young girls today don't participate as much as boys in sport, and when they hit their teenage years they start to drop out. And that's because of those gender stereotypes that exist, that girls are not given that equal chance to participate in sport in the same way as boys. We're told that you know, we're told to be pretty. We're told to think about how we look, or how attractive we are, but we don't actually see the other strengths that we have as women. So we're still challenging those same stereotypes, but in a different way.
Well, I would say there are still similarities between reading about how women were treated then, and even though we're not treated that way now generally, explicitly, I think there is still an element of belief that women should still be a thing of beauty and not necessarily a physical active being. And I think many women maybe still feel that pressure to appear a certain way and prioritise their looks and their aesthetics, and being well put together and not being a sweaty mess over their own personal enjoyment in doing things physically or in the outdoors. So I think there's still similarities, but people won't throw bananas at us now if we're riding bikes in trousers. So that's a real positive step forward since then.
Hidden histories. Women didn't exist in the outdoors, that's absolute nonsense. The history tells us one story, but actually what we found is another story. And we are now in a position that we want to share that with everyone, to actually recognise that women have been doing this for such a long time. But I just wish that it was in our history books, and but that's what we're going to change, isn't it?
And we think this really matters today, because you can only really imagine different futures if you know the past, if you can remember the past, and you can actually build on things that people have already done. The ways they've been inventive, the ways they've had remarkable courage, the ways they've shown kind of other ways that you could be in the world.